How are you doing? My name is Carlos Coronel. I'm the Jones College of Business IT Resources Director. This is a new installment of the College of Business Tech Tips. In this presentation, we're going to learn how to secure a Zoom meeting. And this is a multi-step process. If you don't know all the steps, don't worry, because we have created a document that goes through all the different steps to secure a meeting, all the different options that you have to have secure meetings in Zoom. So don't take notes. We're going to distribute this document to everybody. So don't worry, and we're going to publish it in the website. Before I start, I want to let you know that there are basically 3 steps that we follow. The step 0 is to upgrade your Zoom application, that there are instructions in the documentation. The second step is define some very important Zoom meeting defaults. The second step is actually you schedule the meeting, and you schedule the meeting 3 different ways: through the D2L integration with Zoom, through the Zoom web page, or through the Zoom application. And then you can verify the settings that you need there. And finally, when you run the meeting, you are running the Zoom program, the Zoom application, and that contains all the security features that allow you to control the participants in the meeting. So let's go start by bringing first our Zoom web page in here. This is the Zoom web page. You go to settings and then go to under meetings. Here is meetings. You go security. And under security, we have some very important settings. Those settings are important because they define the defaults for every new meeting. These are the settings for every new meeting that you run. Okay? So we're going to learn some of those settings. The first setting that you need to, what we recommend to set up is require that all meetings are secured with one security option. And there are basically 3 security options: a passcode, a waiting room, or only authenticated users can join meetings. So those are the 3 main security options that Zoom has. You have to use one of those. Actually, we are using all of 3 in our setting. So we enable the waiting room. That's very important. Under waiting room options, we specify 2 things. Who should go in the waiting room? We're going to select users who are not in your account and not part of your allowed domain. So if you go right here, you're going to see that that's the setting selected. What is the other setting that we're going to select? Who can admit participants from the waiting room, the host or the co-host? Those are the 2 important settings. Make sure to save it, and then you go back. So those are the main settings in here. Then there are more settings that are important. Remember, these are just default settings. They apply for future meetings or new meetings that you run. Require a passcode when scheduling a meeting is on by default, so that's okay. Require a passcode for instant meetings. That's optional. You can select it or no. Require a passcode for personal meeting, or the PMI. That's required, so that's good to enable it. Require a passcode for participants joining by phone. We enable that. Embed a passcode in invite link for one-click join. We enable that too. So what that means is that you send an invitation via email. That link contains the password already, so they click and they join the meeting. Only, and this is the most important feature right here at the very end, only authenticated users can join meetings. That have to be said. Only authenticated users can join meetings. That have to be said. As you can see right there, that's it. This works in conjunction with the waiting room. Remember, in the waiting room, we told it to put in the waiting room only those users that are not authenticated to our account or to MTSU, or join by the phone. And when they join by the phone, they will require to authenticate, or they are put in the waiting room and the host or the co-host have to admit it. So those are some of the settings that are very important. There are some other settings that are in the documentation that you can read later on, but those are the main ones. Those are the main settings. So now we're going to show you when you schedule a new meeting here. There are some defaults that automatically bring over that we already set up. The first default is generate automatically the meeting ID. That's by default, so that's automatically there. The passcode is already checked. and it has a random generated passcode. By the way, that's also set by default. Waiting room is enabled because we enable it by default for every new meeting, and require authentication to join. That's also enabled, as you can see. In there, you will see that the cameras are on for both participant and the host. Why? Because we think that it's very important for the class. When you are teaching online classes, it's very important to create some sense of community, some sense of connection. It's always good for the faculty to see the students and for the student to see the faculty teaching the class, and how engaging is for the students to participate and communicate with each other. So remember, if they are in the meeting, it's because they are already authenticated via MTSU. So you know who is which one. There are no anonymous meetings or from other external sources unless you allow them. So that's very important. Now, you can schedule the meeting, you can save it. That's pretty much on. So those are the second steps. The third phase is when you actually run the meeting, and that's when most of the security features are used. So I'm gonna go back in here. I am running a meeting right here. It's already full screen, so it's fine. I'm gonna go over here. In here, we have a meeting, and notice that on the participants, I have the waiting room enabled first of all. Remember that the meetings are already automatically waiting room enabled. And notice that we have a participant that is in the waiting room, Julia, and Julia is connecting via a phone and is using her personal Zoom account, not the MTSU. That's the reason why she's in the waiting room. If she were connecting via the Zoom, logging in Zoom with the MTSU credential, she will automatically be in our meeting. So I'm gonna admit it, basically, go right here and admit, and she will be in there. So now Julie's in there, and you can see the two participants, and we're gonna go back to this screen in a second. So when we are here, most of the security features are here under security, and this is where the heart of the security features are for the Zoom host. Notice that the waiting room is enabled by default, so that's important. It's enabled by default. Then we have other features like log meeting. What is log meeting? After all the users are admitted in the meeting, you can log the meeting, meaning that nobody else can join the meeting, and they won't be able to participate, basically. So that's an option, and you can enable and disable again. You also have an option to hide profile pictures. In this case, we want to see Julia's picture right there. The rest of the options are right here, and they're very important. What you allow the participants to do. So every time that you see a check mark by that feature, the student can do that, the participant can do that. The only thing that they can do right now is start video. So if Julia starts the video, I will be able to see her in here. Next, you can enable them to share a screen. By default, it's recommended to not allow them to share the screen. Also, the chat, you can allow them. If all the users are authenticated, now everybody will know who each person is. So we assume that the student doesn't want to get any sanction from MTSU for inappropriate behavior. Rename themselves. You don't want them to rename themselves and put some other names in there. Unmute themselves. You may want or may not want to have that feature on. By the way, you can mute all in the participants window. When you go to the participants window right here, you have a mute all button that will mute everybody. Okay? Now, if everybody's mute and you don't allow them to unmute themselves, you're going to have to mute each one by going to the participant windows, and in here you can enable the microphone or the camera. So that's the features. Now, going back to security, there is here the start video in here that is by default on. And finally, we have this other feature right here that is the feature to suspend participants' activities. When you enable this feature, the participant video, audio, screen sharing, annotation, everything gets stopped. So they won't be able to do anything in the meeting. This is very important. If you suddenly have some disruption in the meeting, you can suspend everything, chat, everything gets stopped. They cannot do anything. Everything is, the meeting is suspended at that time. So that's another emergency feature that you can use for your meetings. Now, there are some questions about sharing the screen. If you notice in here, there are some features here to share the screen under advanced options. The feature that are very important for sharing the screen is, excuse me, is to how many participants can share at the same time. In this case, one participant can share at the same time. Now, you can allow multiple participants if you are fairly safe that all the students will behave. Also, who can share? Only the host or any participant. Okay. Now, Zoom now allows multiple screen shares at the same time. I think 4, 2 for sure, but I think 4 different people can share at the same time now in Zoom. Okay. Now, that's something that you can enable right here. Okay. So those features are also handy. If you're sharing the screen or the whiteboard, by default, only the host can annotate. If you want to make sure of that, when you are sharing the screen, at the top of the screen, there is a green bar that says you are sharing the screen and then stop. Above that, there is some options in there. There are 3 dots with the word more in there. When you click in there, there is one feature that will say enable annotation for others. Make sure that is not checked. That feature will make sure that only the host can share and annotate. So that's pretty much all the settings that we have in here. This document will be out soon, and it will be available in our web page, and also it will be distributed among all our faculty. Thank you very much, and I hope this meeting has been informative. We want to have some safe Zoom meetings and Zoom classes for all our students. Thank you very much.